Hey there. Hope you're doing well, or as well as can be expected in these times. Speaking of time, since the last time we gathered together here, virtually speaking, many things have happened in the Microsoft space. Microsoft recently announced that it was doing away with its diversity and inclusion program, and that's part of a larger trend that we're seeing across the United States. Corporations see no profit in it, not even the profit that can be derived from the propaganda of DEI, so they are dropping it. That's something I'm going to be digging into in coming weeks and months. It was recently reported by The Intercept that Microsoft has been promoting DALL-E, a generative AI system for imaging, as a tool for the Pentagon. Rather interesting. And the relationship between Microsoft and the tech industry generally and the Pentagon is something that I'm also going to be digging into in greater depth, because there's a lot to unpack there. And another report that came out about Microsoft recently was, this is from the BBC, that Microsoft, according to Palestinians, are part of the diaspora of the Palestinian people, Microsoft closed Skype accounts, thereby cutting people off from access to their loved ones who are in a zone of destruction. Today, however, we're going to be talking not about Microsoft, but about an excellent essay that Ali Alkhatib, who I'm connected to on Twitter. No one's going to call it X. That's really done with, isn't it? We pretended for a minute, but it's really over. Anyway, Ali has written a brilliant essay entitled Destroy AI, in which he makes the case, a compelling case, I think, that inasmuch as what is called AI today, algorithmic systems, are targeted against us and against our needs, that we need to consider as an ethical stance that AI should be destroyed as it currently stands. A little while ago, about a year ago or so, I wrote an essay for my blog called AI Ethics, a More Ruthless Consideration, in which I said that the proper ethical position regarding AI is that it should be done away with. That you cannot, and Ali makes the exact same point in his essay, you cannot re-engineer, so to speak, a system that is inherently designed to harm you, to harm us. So, in today's video, I do a reading of Ali's fantastic essay. I hope you enjoy it, and I will see you in my next video in which we dive into some of these Microsoft stories. Ciao. Destroy AI by Ali Alkhatib, 24 June 2024. I've been struggling to articulate this idea, and maybe the problem is that it's actually kind of simple once you put it out there. And there's really no good reason to unpack a whole case for it once you put the thought on paper. I'm gravitating away from the discourse of measuring and fixing unfair algorithmic systems, or making them more transparent or accountable. Instead, I'm finding myself fixated on articulating the moral case for sabotaging, circumventing, and destroying, quote, AI, end quote, machine learning systems and their surrounding political projects as valid responses to harm. In other words, I want us to internalize and develop a more rigorous appreciation of those who fuck up AI and its supporting systems. With hegemonic algorithmic systems, namely large language models and similar machine learning systems, and the overwhelming power of capital pushing these technologies on us, I've come to feel like human-centered design, HCD, and the overarching project of HCI has reached a state of abject failure. Maybe it's been there for a while, but I think the field's inability to rise forcefully to the ascent of large language models and the pervasive use of chatbots as panaceas to every conceivable problem is uncharitably illustrative of its current state. CHI and FACT, FACCT, have failed to meaningfully respond to the de-skilling of creative labor, or to the environmental and humanitarian crises these systems cause or exacerbate around the world, or even to the co-opting of our spaces by grifters and con artists making up, quote, probabilities of doom, end quote. Indeed, in some ways, these spaces have avoided the difficult conversations and welcomed the nonsense to try to avoid the anguish of facing a genocide in which we are collectively implicated, or the disillusionment of confronting our own roles as agents of the corporate states that invade, surveil, displace, and kill people. I'm no longer interested in encouraging the design of more human-centered versions of these murderous technologies, or to inform the more humane administration of complex algorithmic systems that separate families, bomb schools and neighborhoods, that force people out of their homes or onto the streets, or that deny medical care at the moment people need it most. These systems exist to facilitate violence, and HCI researchers who have committed their careers to curl back that violence at the margins have considerably more of something in them than I have. I hope it's patience and determination and not self-interested greed. Regardless, there's no way to make the administrative and bureaucratic systems of apartheid and violence more humane for the people subjugated by that system. I think we must forcefully put on the table the possibility that we will destroy systems that fail to make a compelling, affirmative case for their existence. That threat must be credible. We should actively undermine and sabotage systems and recognize that labor as a moral project that we engage in the way Luddites sabotage machinery that tore people apart. This isn't really a post or a conversation for the HCD or HCI community. I've grown weary and wary, I suppose, of the design community because they ultimately seem committed to designing systems, an ideological project antithetical to this one. If you think of yourself as a member of that community most people call, quote, design, end quote, I would ask you to pose a few challenging questions to yourself. Start with these. Do you work with systems or people? Which would you follow if the two paths converge, or diverge, rather? What if they're in conflict and you can only follow or defend one? If you see a system dismantling a human being's life, do you think that the system must be fixed or that the system must be destroyed? I wanted to end with a few positive notes. I like projects like Glaze at the University of Chicago, and while I've been trying to write a piece about this, I came across a manifesto on Mastodon that I thought was very cool and uncannily relevant. I've also seen some really rad indigenous art, and I know that there are other works that have explored the general space of destroying, sabotaging, and poisoning datasets and whatnot. I'd be surprised if nobody has ever thought to put this constellation of ideas together in the same blog post. Please hit me up if you've seen additional thoughts like this. I'd love to hear from people who are thinking about stuff like this. If you've been thinking along these lines, or if you're one of the people I've linked to, then please take this as encouragement and an invitation to be in dialogue with the other stuff I've written about and pointed to, because I think resistance is necessary and mustn't be captured by the design-brained people.